Okay, here we are. Unalleviated stress is the highest accelerant of aging, disease, and mortality. So we've been talking about HeartMath and addressing stress, and HeartMath also has to do with optimizing your sense of well-being. But in the world today, it's unalleviated stress really is the highest accelerant of aging, disease, and mortality. So in HeartMath, it comes down to this very simple but profound poem by friend and mentor Martin Cecil. Any moment of hating, any moment of lying, any moment of resentment is a moment of dying. Any moment of loving, any moment of giving, any moment of thankfulness is a moment of living. All our moments add together like the digits in a sum, and the answer tells us plainly whether life or death shall come. So if we look at it this way, in terms of epitomizing what HeartMath is about and what that poem is about, you can say here, our heart needs to be positioned in a way, and we talked about coherence and heart rate variability with HeartMath, and having attitudes that allows for that depiction of basically being in the zone, being in a smooth type rhythm. When we have attitudes of thankfulness, appreciation, and patience, it allows, I like using the phrase, the light that we are, the essence of who we are, the feeling of that to be received into our hearts and affirmed in our hearts, where we have a sensing of basically something sound and true. And that allows for something to filter into our conscious mind in terms of self-care ideally to protect our heart in keeping these attitudes. And when we do that, then we have an awareness. Sometimes, you might think about, may not know something, or you're trying to figure something out. But basically, if you can get your heart in heart rate rhythms and having attitudes of thankfulness, appreciation, patience there, it allows something to filter into your conscious awareness of something you didn't know before. It brings, you can say, illumination to your mind. And then out of that, we can see what it takes for clarity and focus. Now, in today's world, there's a lot of conflicting back and forth views, and we may lose our clarity because of, you can say, an influence of someone close to us or someone afar, or a family member or a friend, or just people in the world, where we may lose our focus for getting involved with things we really shouldn't be getting involved with, that allows our hearts not to keep these attitudes. So it brings clarity and focus as we keep sound in this way. And then we can extend an integrated life-giving influence. And ultimately, that's what we're here for. We're here to let, you can say, the essence of ourselves get through our heart, filter through our mind, feel it in our bodies, our body focus, you can say, and allowing for something to extend out that's sound and true and life-giving. So what happens when we're out of that orientation? So I've coined a process called messenger RNA process to use as needed. So you can say here, M stands for being a messenger of light. And that light needs to be received into our heart as we hold attitudes, cultivate attitudes of thankfulness, appreciation, and patience, which allows something to come through our mind, into our bodies, and then out into the world. But when we recognize that when our heart is impacted, you can say it's impacted by something someone may say, that we have a choice in that moment, a choice to actually pause before we default to patterns of shame, fear, hate, greed. So, when someone says something you don't like, it's easy to be reflexive that way, where we pop up with resentment automatically. But if we can just recognize when our heart's been impacted and choose a different way than defaulting to what normally happens unhealthily in the world, where we can be deliberate with our conscious mind to upright ourselves and breathe. Now, as a chiropractor, I recognize again, if you upright yourself posture-wise, it puts you better in a commanding position. And as you breathe, in slowly, out slower, breathing in slow. Let's do this together. Breathing in slow. Breathe with me, and breathing out slower. Let's do it again. Breathing in slow and breathing out slower. And for those of you listening or watching this video afterwards, do that with me. Breathing in slow and breathing out slower. Now, we do that until we can remember what we love. And in our presentation, we talked about remembering what you love, remembering what makes you smile. And as we do that, as we get into that stance, we may have to breathe a few times back and forth, as long as it takes until the dawning awareness comes of what you remember and what you love. And then that allows for, you can say, a letting go of, you can say, the feeling of resentment that may come up within us. And it brings perspective. It brings forgiveness, where we can see larger in terms of something that may affected us, or larger in terms we see things in the world, and we have a perspective where we can have a large view of what's happening and why a person may think that, or even ourselves, forgiveness for ourselves for thinking certain things. And that brings a letting go to, I call it the peace of understanding. And as we neutralize, R stands for neutralize. So as we recognize, neutralize, and then A stands for appreciate. We come back to the place that we're meant to fill, the life-giving reconnection with self, with ourself, with others, with all of nature, with everything around us, which allows us to recognize we have a specific part individually and together. But if we can do it individually and then together, then something begins to happen larger in the world. And so instead of saying, oh no, why did this happen? Why did this person say this? We change it to, oh yes, here's my opportunity. If I can clear this within myself, I'm going to help set, you can say, that influence for others to do the same. But it takes at least one person extending that influence. And if more of us do that it's going to make massive changes in the world. And that's what we're here for. So if we look at it in terms of unconscious accelerated aging, when we default to patterns of shame and fear and hate and greed, those are baseline reasons why we may get older before our times, or our bodies may start to weather themselves unknowingly. There's something more than just toxins in the environment. The baseline really is how we think and feel about things. So I want to introduce something along these lines, where I've started a program called the Conscious Healthy Aging Group Program, and I would love to invite you to that. And if you gather and can receive what I've been saying, then here are some details about it. This is the things we'll be focusing on. One area is our reason for being. So we'll look to have sessions really exploring, discovering together our individual reason to being, and you say our collective reason for being. And then how we can be in alignment with that. Again, with HeartMath. HeartMath is a great practice to come into alignment, where we get our heart beating, actually physiologically beating in a healthy way, that allows us to actually have a sense of alignment with the reason for our being. And then through our heart, into our mind, and then out through our body. And then we'll be looking at how to actually care, have a little larger view and understanding of how to care for our body, looking at various topics in that respect. And then ultimately, though, it's playing our part with others. I can see the only reason why to be healthy is to actually allow for us to play our part with others. So Conscious Aging Group, Aging Vitality Group membership launch. The launch has started. Enrollment is currently open for now. Find out more here, bit.ly, at bit.ly, bit.ly/vitality group membership. So if you're listening audio wise, you want to go to that link when you can on your phone or your computer, and you can find out more about the program as well as engaging. So our first kickoff session is on August 25th at 7:30. It's a Thursday night. So if you have an interest, I look forward to seeing you there. And let's stay well together as we age. And then our next HeartMath session will be October 2nd at 2 o'clock. And let's open up our time now for any thoughts, discussions. I'm going to close off the video, the screen share. And then for those of you who are listening, if you do have further thoughts, you can please let me know.